Hi guys, welcome back. This is super exciting today because you've been many people to ask me how to make a cassoulet. I'm not a specialist in that matter, but my old friend Jérôme Roussillon, which is a qualified chef that lives in the town of Revel in the south of France, is the specialist in that matter. And today he's opening his kitchen for us and he's going to show us how to make a real cassoulet. Let's go. Here we are. Now this is the bell. It says please ring. I'm going to do that. Ah, Jérôme, ça va? Ça fait très longtemps. Alors, on est prêt pour le cassoulet?
Écoute, impeccable, tout va bien.
Allez, on y va.
Allez, please coming.
C'est parti.
Stéphane, bienvenue dans ma cuisine.
Merci Jérôme.
Là, je vais te montrer ma recette de cassoulet aujourd'hui.
Super. Guys, did you hear this? So as you can imagine, we're in France and Jérôme here doesn't speak too much English, so I'm going to be translating throughout the recipe. But here is the man, the qualified chef, and this red ribbon here is a label of quality, is a disciple of Escoffier, meaning he's going to cook the cassoulet in the real traditional way. So it's going to be step by step, easy to understand and delicious. Ready for the recipe?
On est parti.
Allez. So the first question you may ask, what is a cassoulet? So simply put, it's a traditional bean and meat stew originating from the south of France. And what ingredients do we need to make that lovely recipe? Now let's have a look. First off, we're gonna have these broad white beans, and these are again from the town of Tarbes in the south of France. Very important. They're very good beans for the cassoulet. We're gonna use some chicken stock, and then all the aromatics. We've got onions, carrot, tomatoes, we've got some cloves, some pepper, tomato paste, and we continue with vinegar, duck fat, lots of garlic, thyme, and of course, after that, the most important, the meats. So there's different types of meats. We've got the pork ribs, pork rind, we've got some ham, and the Toulouse sausage, which is also a specialty from a town nearby. Lastly, we've got the confit of duck, and today we've been using a goose confit, and we've got all these lovely legs ready to be used for a cassoulet. So all the ingredients are listed in the video description, so do not worry, you can go in there, and you just need to know that the cassoulet is a family dish, very hearty, so it's big proportion, lots of meats, lots of bean, and it's really a dish to share with your family.
Bon Stéphane, la première chose à faire, c'est la cuisson des haricots.
Okay, so the first step is cooking the beans. Let's have a look. So we're going to start by taking the pork rind that you lay out in your dish at the bottom. Some ham, very important. So this is going to bring all the flavors. And on top of that, you put the beans that have been pre-soaked overnight. We're going to add the chicken stock. Lovely. Look at that. Nice and juicy. And after that, all the aromatics. So tomatoes, more tomatoes, some carrots, tomato paste. And this little thing, that's one of Jérôme's trick, is a little infuser with the cloves, the pepper, and some other aromatics that's going to infuse in the beans. Lots of garlics. A whole onion. Yes, thyme, fresh bay leaf, a nice portion of salt, so this is sea salt by the way, vinegar, look at these colors, lovely, and the duck fat, of course, we love our fat in France. This is just looking beautiful, Jérôme. And finally, you add a little bit of water on top, top it up, and just above all of the ingredients, you don't want to overdo it. Alright, and look at this. This is it. Once you put your beans and all of the ingredients, look at that. You got the ham, the tomatoes. You're going to put this on a medium heat for a bit more than an hour, maybe an hour and a quarter. And this is what's going to give the real taste in the beans. It's a very important step, but it's also a very easy one because this is the one pot style of recipe. So I've got everything in there and it's going to be ultra delicious.
Alors, pendant que les haricots cuisent, on va pré-cuire la saucisse de Toulouse et les coustelous au four à 220 degrés pendant une quinzaine de minutes.
So, very simple. Whilst the beans are cooking, you're going to take your roasting tray like this and we're going to put your Toulouse sausage, the pork ribs, and we're going to cook them in the oven at 200 degrees for 15 minutes. So, let's put some ingredients on. bit of thyme, some garlic, a few bay leaves, of course the sea salt, look at this, beautiful. And to finish, we've got the duck fat. We love the duck fat. Beauty. And that's gonna go in the oven. So one of the important things while the beans are cooking, you need to skim the top and remove all the scum regularly, all the time, to make sure you really have clean beans to have that clean taste. After 15 minutes, the meats are cooked. Take them out of the oven. Reserve them on a plate. When you're ready, you deglaze with a bit of water. Once you got a nice juice like that, you're gonna take the juice and put it in the beans. Yes, lovely. So once the meat is cooked, you're gonna roughly chop the pork chop and the sausage. So once the beans are cooked, you do the same with the meats. You take the ham out and the pork rind. Same for those meats, roughly chop the ham and the pork rind. Nice slices. Alors Jérôme, je vois que tout est cuit. Quelle est la prochaine étape?
La prochaine étape, Stéphane, c'est le montage du cassoulet.
Okay, so a little translation. So the next step, we're going to build up the cassoulet in layers, starting with the meats, and after that, the beans. And now let's see how we build up this cassoulet layers by layers. You start with the rinds, the pork rinds. You add some ham. Then you put some sausages. Nicely done. And finally, the ribs. And now for the beans, one important thing, you really have to remove the carrots, the onion and the aromatic herbs like Jérôme is doing. And finally, you can add the beans on top of the meat. So a nice layer of bean. Final step, you're gonna add plenty of juice all the way to the top of the beans. And this is the final step. We're gonna cook the beans in the oven for 1.5 hours, 200 degrees Celsius, until a crust starts to form at the top, and then Jérôme here is gonna do a magic trick with a spoon. We're gonna see this later on. So after 1.5 hours, as you can see, it comes really dry and there's some kind of a crusting at the top. So what you need to do is actually add some juice and eventually with the spoon kind of crack the top so that you can put it back in the oven and it's going to absorb the juices. And this is a step that can be repeated up to 3 times. So now we're going to put it back in the oven for another hour. So when the beans are totally cooked, that depends on time, depending on the dish you use and stuff. And 15 minutes before you serve, you're gonna add the confit legs. And you're gonna kind of decorate the top of the cassoulet with those meats. So see, there's a lots of meats, lots of beans, but it's gonna look really delicious. When that's done, back in the oven.
Stéphane, nos cassoulets sont prêts. On peut passer à table quand tu veux.
Thank you, Jérôme. Really, the cassoulet looks amazing. I mean, look at these. We've made something for 10 people. It's amazing. Look at the beans, the colors of the goose and everything. It's absolutely beautiful, and we're gonna have a delicious dinner. One word before we go. If you have a big dish like this, time may vary, it may be a bit longer, so make sure you keep an eye on the beans, they don't get too dry, add some juice. And the 15-minute rules, if you have a smaller dish, make sure all the legs are in and don't let them too long so they don't dry out. But away from that, Jérôme, you've done an outstanding job, and I hope for you guys you enjoyed the recipe, and we're going to set the table and we see you in a few minutes with a bottle of wine.
Cassoulet arrive.
Yes! There it is. The famous cassoulet. Look at this, it looks absolutely delicious. Well, let's dig in. I am getting the first serve. Of course, Jérôme, go ahead. I want some of your lovely cassoulet. Look at this. A nice leg, and this is where the magic happens. With the spoon, the digging, look at that. The juice, the colors. Oh my God. That's as good as it gets. Yeah, a little sausage, yes. Yeah, that's it for me. Yeah, now that's a real cassoulet.
Excellent.
But guys,
Excellent.
that is the end of the video for today. I hope you enjoy this long recipe. It took us a long time, and thanks to our chef Jérôme Roussillon here. And before I go, the last tip, if you ever eat a cassoulet, is add a little bit of vinegar on your plate, so just a few drops, and that's really gonna help the digestion and to avoid having too many wins. It's a bit of an anecdote in France. But that's it for me. I will see you back in Australia when I'm back from holidays. I hope you had a good time, and I'll see you next time. Well, let's cheers for the chef.